Welcome back to Sentai Potential. Hello everyone, it's thomasjujube, and welcome to the series where I take a look at unadapted seasons of Super Sentai and look at how they could be adapted into the Power Rangers brand under Hasbro. Today, I'm going to be taking a look at the recently ended season of Super Sentai that focuses on the knights, the dinosaurs, and the craziness in between Kishiryu Sentai Ryusoulger. This series is done in the spirit of fun and love for both Power Rangers and Super Sentai, and so we can all get a conversation going about our different ideas for these seasons. I'm not trying to get Hasbro to use my ideas in the actual seasons, nor am I saying that I'm smarter than the writers of both shows. This is all just done for fun. In case you're new here, my main focus in these videos is how the aesthetics, source footage, and toys of a Sentai season could be used in the adaptation to further expand the Power Rangers brand and create an interesting show. If you're new and you want a better understanding of how everything works, I recommend you go watch the first episode of Season 1. The playlist link should be in the corner. Also check out my Ryusoulger season review that just recently came out if you want to hear my full thoughts on Kishiryu Sentai Ryusoulger as a season. Now, this episode of Sentai Potential is going to be a special case, obviously because Ryusoulger is officially confirmed to be the season that will be adapted into Power Rangers Season 28, but that won't change really anything about this episode of Sentai Potential. We're going to stick to the same basics. The only difference is that this episode has the most weight associated with it because it is on the horizon of actually happening. With that out of the way, now let's Ryusoul change into Sentai Potential Ryusoulger. If you're new here, that is a running joke. I say the change phrase of the season, usually it doesn't work out. I feel like this time it did. I'm going to try and be as objective as possible here, but Ryusoulger has my favorite aesthetics in all of Sentai, so forgive me if I get a little subjective and start going on rants of how much I love this stuff. Let's start with the base suits. They definitely make use of the knight motif here by having the helmets take on this largely metallic look like the visor of a knight, but they still tie it into the dinosaur theme by having the classic dinosaur mouths as the visors. The rest of the suit doesn't really play into either motif and instead lends itself more to the logo of the season, but having half the torso in silver is a really cool touch that we don't see too often. That especially ties into all the Ryusoul armaments. These crazy armors are like the Dino Steel from Dino Charge, but on a massively larger level. They all follow a similar pattern, but they're all very different from each other, and that would not only work well for the toys, but it creates a lot of diversity in the fights, especially because of their different abilities and just because of how they look. This stuff looks awesome. The next step up in the season for them is the Kyo Ryusouls that are basically like Kamen Rider forms in Super Sentai. Once again, they all follow a similar pattern, but they still end up looking completely different from each other, and not to mention that because they take up more of the base suit's body, they look even more different from the normal armaments, and once again completely spice up those fight scenes. Look at this shot. This is amazing. The next step up there is just an entire suit like that. Max Ryusoul Red is my favorite suit in all of Sentai. I love the design, the gold, and of course, the red. I love it and I can't wait for a figure of it to be made. Its original version and successor are also pretty awesome. Geizolk focuses on just the knight aspect and it really distinguishes these suits from the others, but they still fit into the motif just because of the shared idea of knights. There, I think I stayed largely objective for this, right? Alright. I love these so much. How could you not love these mecha? The robots are all slick and intricate and look amazing in the fight scenes. And once again, they're all so diverse in their designs. The only things that would really clue you in to how they're from the same season is the dinosaurs, the similar key head designs, and the Ryusoul joints. This season, 60s ports and tabs on every single mecha, and as a result you get the most playable mecha line in all of Super Sentai. Previously, the most intricate you could get with these different combinations is maybe switching arms for legs, adding some new armor, or maybe just the arms or just the legs, but here you can take the exact same piece and put it on the leg, the foot, the arm, the shoulder, the chest, the back, or combine it with another piece and put it on the leg, the foot, the arm, the shoulder, the chest, the back, or put this apparatus on a part of another robot and put that on either the leg, the foot, the arm, the shoulder, the chest, the back, or the Ryusoulger aesthetics overall pretty much center around three things: dinosaurs, knights, and playability. We know kids love dinosaurs, so that alone should really sell this season as an adaptation. The night aspect lets it stand out from the other dinosaur seasons that we've already had, as they all tend to lean into just dinosaurs, while this one pulls in a secondary motif and makes it more unique. And lastly, the mix and match aspects prevalent in every part of the season mean that it would certainly be a hit in the toy department. It's a natural way to have your audience want to buy more products. Overall, I think Ryusoulger would be an absolute hit aesthetically in an adaptation. So because a large part of Ryusoulger's theme is based around dinosaurs, a lot of ideas I see for how to adapt it involve some sort of connection to either Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Dino Thunder, or Dino Charge. And if you want to do that for your own adaptation ideas, please by all means do this, as it's an interesting idea. But what I'm personally going to focus on in this video is a bit more of a centralized idea. This time I'm not doing big plot shenanigans, no massive stories. I'm just going to focus on one character story throughout the season, and it's self-contained inside of this season. And that character is Ryusoulger. Ryusoulger will function in the beginning parts of the season as he does in Ryusoulger. He shows up every so often to assist a Druidon or lay down a beating on the Ryusoulgers, but in a systematic fashion, as if he's trying to figure out their main base or their central location. At some point, like in Ryusoulger, Seto will join the team as a mentor character. Not just for the random ass bits of wisdom, he'll be a full different person that actively assists the Ryusoulgers. He'll also probably be a younger actor, maybe like Nada's age, and he could also just be an actress, because a lot of people want multiple Girl Rangers in this season, and if you want that to happen, that's totally fine, and I'm okay with that happening, but I'm just going to refer to this character as Seto for the rest of the video. Around the point where Seto joins as the mentor, we start to see Ryusoulger team up with the Druidon more, and their attacks start to become more personal. They now know the names of the Ryusoulgers, they actively use parts of their personal lives to psychologically attack them in battle, stuff like that. Now I'm sure that you guys are smart enough to figure out that what I'm going for is Seto is actually Ryusoulger, and yes, that is the angle that I'm going for. Seto joining the team would cause the Druidons to get access to more personal information about the Ryusoulgers, since Ryusoulger and the Druidons are aligned. However, the armor acts as a separate entity that is bonded to Seto without his knowledge, and it's stronger when connected to its host, but it still has the ability to act independently. So in this part of the season, Seto believes he's actually becoming a closer mentor to the Ryusoulgers, but doesn't know that he's actually giving the villains the tools to their destruction. The independent armor will be used to deter viewers from guessing Seto is really Ryusoulger, to further spicing up the mystery. At some point, the team will probably weaken the Ryusoulger armor enough that it needs to join with its host to become strong enough, revealing the identity to the team. And when the team tells Seto after defeating the armor, it basically tears him apart from the inside. He refuses that this whole time he's been trying to help the Ryusoulgers in battle, he's really just been a detriment to their mission to saving the world. And this massive guilt allows the armor to then acquire full control of him. The preceding arc to free Seto is largely the same as it was in Ryusoulger, but this time I feel there's more stakes, as now we've spent longer with Seto and Ryusoulger. After he's freed, the next episodes feature Seto with a tamed Ryusoulger, but it would appear he doesn't have complete control of it, as it still lashes out in fights, just like it did prior to the purification. So then, when Uden Noodles comes to Earth and begins draining powers much like in Ryusoulger, Ryusoulger needs to fight his hardest because he realizes that allowing Noodles to absorb the remaining evil would make him mega powerful, too powerful. So the power of Ryusoulger is split among the Ryusoulgers into the Ryusoul Calibers, which not only grants all of them the Noblesse forms, but now much of the Ryusoulger power is lost and he transforms into Ryusoul Brown. This will create a rivalry between the two of them as Ryusoul Brown and Uden, and it goes on for a few episodes, with it eventually culminating in a final episode where Brown has a critical blow delivered to him, and in a last-ditch effort to make sure Uden does not acquire any of the Ryusoulger powers, he gives up the remaining powers of Ryusoulger to Ko, which gives him the max Ryusoul Red form, and the preceding death of Seto, Ryusoul Brown, and Ryusoulger. And one last thing I want to add with Ryusoulger and Ryusoul Red Max, in my ideas I imagine that we'll have a few fight scenes of Ryusoulger using Kishiryu, much like how Garza uses Smoke Joki in the new Kira Major episodes. And we may not use all the footage, of course, because it is only a one movie, but I want to hammer home the idea that Kishiryu and Dynamigo are the Kishiryu partners of Ryusoulger, like the other Rangers have their own Kishiryu partners, and he loses that connection to them when he becomes Ryusoul Brown. So then when he becomes Ryusoulger briefly in his final fight, the idea is he revives his connection to them, so then when he dies and passes his powers on to Ko as Ryusoul Red Max, now we're combining Tiramigo and Dynamigo as one Kishiryu, still visually Tiramigo because we can't really change anything, but the idea is this is now a powered up Tiramigo, which will allow him to combine with the other two Kishiryu Megazords to form King Kishiryu. And the main way we're doing that is I'm kind of switching the Ryusoul Caliber and the Ryusoul Red Max upgrades in the show continuity wise. Basically, the Ryusoul Calibers will take place of what Ryusoul Red Max is in Ryusoulger, and Ryusoul Red Max will take the place of what the Calibers are in the Power Rangers adaptation, in my ideas at least. I personally wanted to keep the tragedy of the Ryusoulger arc from Ryusoulger, as I thought that was one of the most interesting parts of the season, but I still wanted to give a bit of hope to everything as well, so it doesn't feel as rushed and maybe not as tragic. This also probably happens to be one of the most fanfic-y ideas I've had because the Ryusoulgers just gain power-ups. I just really wanted to see all the Ryusoulgers have the caliber as a team power-up. To make room for the armor power-ups later on, we could probably have a plotline where the calibers are slowly losing their power to Eris, kind of like what was happening in Ryusoulger. Now it's time to look at the potential sales that the Ryusoulger adaptation could make. It's really been a while since I've done this for Sentai, hasn't it? Let's start with the roleplay. There's the 3 main morphers at $30, and then the Ryusoulken and its 3 repaints are in the $30 weapon category. The Moza Blade is $12 because it's so small. The gimmicks are quite easy for me this time around. I'm still largely playing with hypotheticals as we haven't had an actual gimmick line yet, but I'm going to take another page out of Beast Morphers again with its inclusion of a Morph X key with every figure. As I'll get to in a second, every major Ryusoul can be included with a figure that corresponds to it. There are only a handful of souls that don't have a form tied up to it, and those are the souls that will make up 2 $10 sets of 3. I'm going to start leaving out masks now because, well, that was kind of weird. For figures, now there's actually a lot of discussion I have to do with all the Rangers because, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to kind of be doing some gimmicky stuff, quite literally, with them. So first off, here are all the villains that I'm just going to say they could be making, all the generals. Now, before I have just included 4 villains because that was like the first wave of Beast Morphers, I think, and they have been doing quite a few villain figures, some of which are monsters of the weeks, and have been leaving out some generals, so I'm basically going to start including all the generals of a season and just say, like, you know, if they forget one and replace it with a monster of the week, maybe it'll all balance out. Again, we're all playing with hypotheticals here, and we're about to get into some major hypotheticals, but first of all, we'll for sure see the main 6 Rangers, Max, Ryusoul Red, and the Ryusoulger armors. Now comes more theoreticals. Previous Bandai of America figures would have entirely new figures for armors, like the ones in Ryusoulger, so you'd have to buy tons of new figures just to have Dino Steel or something of the like. But unlike that armor that's supposed to be for one specific Ranger, here, this armor is supposed to be swappable in series. You're supposed to be able to take the Mera armor and plop it on any character. Current Hasbro figures kind of do this already with some more malleable pieces as this extra armor that can be removed, and those aren't even swappable armor pieces. You can even see this with the Hasbro exclusive Lion upgrade for Beast Morphers that is pretty much just a normal Beast Morphers figure with this new vest plopped on top of it that will most likely be removable. So I imagine that what we'd see happen is separate figures get released with the armor on and with the new Ryusoul that corresponds to that armor. They would probably come either with their primary user in the show or just the Red Ranger, at least for the killed Ryusous. For the normal Ryusoul armors, I'm just going to use the same logic, but I feel like there's so many in this case that it could be different in the actual releases. We could just see packs with those Ryusouls, or just one figure with multiple armors and multiple Ryusouls. It's a little up in the air. Once again, just kind of a bunch of hypotheticals. But that's the magic of Sentai Potential. Then we've got 6 12-inch figures. For Megazords, there's the main 3 in the show for $50 because we never see Kishiryu in the show, and then the 5 solo release Zords at $15. The Raptors are together like they were in Japan since they're a bit smaller on their own. The total predicted sales for Kishiryu Sentai Ryusoulger is $942, which, maybe by no small coincidence, is the largest total I've looked at on Sentai Potential, and that's completely because of figures and roleplay. The 4 different $30 swords certainly help, and honestly in this case, this is not a hypothetical. They were most likely going to release the Ryusoulken, the Ryusoul Caliber, the Geizolken, and maybe the brown version, but at least those 3 alone, that's a lot. But most of the work is done by the massive amount of figures. There's about 40 of them that could be sold if the method I spoke of is used. But even if we cut this in half, getting rid of all those hypotheticals, we've still got one of the largest numbers on the series. There has certainly been a precedent set for Season 2 of Sentai Potential, and I can see why Hasbro chose to make this their first standalone Power Rangers adaptation. So, at this point, I think it's quite clear why this season is being adapted into Power Rangers. Aesthetically, it's a unique take on a dinosaur season, something that we've seen many times, and something that Hasbro knows will sell visually due to the franchise's roots. The visuals also play very nicely into the toy line. The mix and match aspects not only create amazingly unique and fun Power Rangers toys, but also provide major boosts in the sales department, which we all know are needed to help with the show's creation. That show itself is not only going to be visually striking, but there's a lot of fun ideas that can be expanded on in an adaptation to create either a standalone product or a testament to Power Rangers' legacy. As of this recording, we know almost nothing about what Hasbro is doing with Ryusoulger for Season 28, but to say that I'm excited for it is certainly an understatement. But be sure to let me know your thoughts on a Ryusoulger adaptation, what you thought of my ideas, your own ideas, and any and all thoughts can go down below in the comment section. Also, please remember to check out my full review of Ryusoulger, Kira Major Episode 1, the rest of Sentai Potential, and my recent 10,000 subscriber videos. But for more Super Sentai content, please consider hitting that subscribe button, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you for watching.